Hey guys, you're about to listen to part one of a conversation we had with Ingrid. Jason says I'm supposed to say she's a truck driver and all kinds of other things, but I don't, actually do this for a living, so I don't know what I'm doing. If there's one piece of it, what's the piece that you would really want blown up?
Don't cut a truck. Not only can we not stop fast enough to keep from hitting you and running over you with a possibility of a gross weight of 80,000 pounds of iron and steel, but because we can't see you to maneuver away from you.
Welcome to Trucking Forward, a podcast where one former engineer and one current engineer sit down and talk everything trucking and autonomy and technology. My name's Tim, and today I don't have Adam with me, and I'm a little bit lost. I don't really know what to do without Adam. At this point, I don't even know how to hand it over and introduce my co-host, who's stepping into his significantly sized shoes. So, Mark, do you want to introduce yourself?
Am I a former engineer or am I an engineer?
I think you're... Welcome to Trucking Forward, a podcast where two former engineers sit around and talk about everything trucking and autonomy and technology. I'm Tim.
And I'm Mark.
And Mark, what do you do?
A lot of things, I guess, but I make people talk to other people, and I do that over and over again. But I am recently moved into leading our new technical product management group inside of our engineering division.
So you make people talk to other people.
Yes.
Can you give us a little more information about it? I don't think most of the people that listen to this podcast might not know how an engineering organization is kind of set up. So what does it mean when you make people talk to other people?
Yeah. So we need to tell our many hundreds of engineers kind of what they need to do for the next day, month, week, year, and
Wait a second. Are you saying we schedule them down to the minute?
We do not.
Just the day.
Just sometimes, depending on the team, they'll go down to the day. But we have all these inputs from product management, from our strategy, from our kind of our corporate needs, and we need to do demos and supports kind of the needs of the business, and we need to develop a product at the same time. And so all these varying, sometimes competing needs need to get into the engineering teams to develop a product, to showcase technology, to support all these various activities. And so the technical product management group is kind of the funnel for all of these requests going into engineering. And they work with all their stakeholders kind of up and down and across the business to prioritize the right work for the right people to basically turn the what and why that we're getting from product management or from strategy or from our corporate interests into kind of who and when. And then the engineering teams take that and they make a how, and we develop a product.
How did you get into that?
I guess I've been mostly just talking with people for my entire time at Torc. But in the former engineer sense, I came to Torc 9 years ago, right out of school at Virginia Tech. One of the people who moved here to Blacksburg and never left. And did software development for a couple of years, worked on a lot of projects over the years, and really ended up in a place where I was interfacing between lots of different groups, both externally and internally inside of Torc, and really kind of leveraged that skill set and experience into getting to the TPM group now.
That's really awesome. Speaking of talking to people, we do actually have you don't count as a guest. I'm sorry, Mark. No, I know you're a special co-host today. You're pretending to be a co-host. Today we do actually have a special guest. Ingrid Brown is joining us. Ingrid, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you loud and clear. You want to introduce yourself, Ingrid?
Oh gosh, where do I start? I'm Ingrid Brown. and I'm a professional truck driver. I've been out here for, it'll be 44 years in December, and I started when I was 18. My dad bought my first truck. It was a needle nose Diamond Rio, a 79, had it brand new. Um,
Your
I've run
dad
full.
bought you your first truck on your 18th birthday.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Is your dad was also a truck
yeah.
driver?
Actually, my dad owned a large road construction company, and we had tons of dumps and asphalt tankers, and we moved equipment, and I got into trucking. Of course, my mother wasn't very happy, and I think when I went over the road, there was probably about a 2-year span that she did not talk to me. No,
Oh,
she
wow.
didn't accept collect calls. That's the best way to put it. You would have thought that I was like making a collect call from Brown County Jail or something, but no, she didn't talk.
She, if you don't mind sharing, like what did your mom want you to get into, as opposed to truck driving?
I'm probably marrying somebody rich and having kids. Having the debutante or whatever. But no,
But
I like dirt. I mean, they used to call me Mud Puppy when I was little growing up. I just love dirt. I can't believe I became a truck driver. Other than it was the people and the places and the towns and, the companies I worked with and that that's just been my passion, is my part of the trucking part of it.
wow, a truck driver for 44 years. I bet you have seen and done quite a lot of things. Um, I guess, can you, like, what's a highlight? Like, did you have like a moment in that 44-year career that you kind of see as like one of the shining moments of that?
I've probably had 3. And no, there's been more than that, but there's been 3 that I couldn't pick amongst the 3. One of them was whenever I was asked back in 2017 to become part of the Michigan convoy for wildfires for Oklahoma and Kansas. And we loaded up 21 semis and we went west and went to Knowles and Gates. Um, we literally went out on the farms. I had a little 85-year-old man and his wife, and she was 84. She was still, at the time of the fires, was on the floor with her trying to round up because they lost 6 hours. She was actually still, she was in the hospital whenever we went and delivered to the farms. And that goes into something else that took place after this, but we'll get to that. But we got there and we spent all day, and the people in the community, even though they lost they lost so much. They turned around and not one person complained. They had this big spread and they fed all of us when we got there. They had hay bales painted and their 4-H kids and the FFA were on top with flags. And, the Secretary of State escorted us in. And the thing was, we're just truck drivers. We're just trying to do what we do of servicing and giving to America. And these people needed us. The people in Michigan were donating all of this stuff. And, from fence posts to calf feed to hay to, whatever. And that probably was one of my biggest highlights. I also got to help transport a fellow driver that had passed away in New Mexico back to his family. And that's a pretty touching thing. I actually took him to California with me and brought him back. Now, if I wasn't supposed to do it, it's already done over with. That's been 9 years ago, so I don't know what y'all can do to me now.
You're outside of any kind of statute of limitations.
Yeah,
Or
I don't think that. Yeah, so I guess y'all can get over that one. But anyway, yeah. And probably my last and my latest has been going to Alaska. I hauled explosives 1.5 up to Alaska, and of course it was 1st of March, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I think it wasn't just the scenery. I've never met other people that probably in Oklahoma and Kansas that were so kind and nice, the Yukon, but the peace. I mean, there's like this stillness, and finally you could really, I see why people go to Alaska and they camp out and they
Yeah.
stay because it's just probably the most peaceful place that I've ever been to in 49 states. Plus I can say I did some ice cream chicken. But, and I've hauled cows. I've to do, a little bit of everything. But my biggest thing is trying to advocate on the safety, trying to be there and help drivers because of all the help I had before and what came before me. So those are my passions.
I think you alluded to it earlier, but you work with FMCSA as a voice of safety. What's entailed in that? Like, what is that work?
Well, in 18, I got a phone call and I was asked if I would do a pre-read to, they want to do a safety campaign. So FMCSA came up with Our Roads, Our Safety. And it's a safety campaign to teach the general motoring public. And yes, I talk with my hands. I'm not sitting.
Oh, me too.
So,
I totally do.
Good. Well, you can wave at me, whatever.
I've been told that this is not recorded on video, and it turns out that Kylie and Jason are liars.
Well, yes. Okay. We're going back to FMCSA because we can't call them liars. So anyway,
we can.
No. So anyway, I'm older. So they contacted me. I went in and did a read. And what this does is this campaign is free literature, free material, and it's on FMCSA's website. And you go to safety, or you can just go to Our Roads, Our Safety. It comes up everywhere. And it teaches the general motoring public how to maneuver and how to safely learn what a truck does, whether it takes us 2 football fields at 55 mile an hour to stop an 80,000-pound truck. About blind spots. If you come up around my right side and I'm fixing to make a right turn, you're going to go crunch and I'm going to go, oh no. These are the things that you need to learn, as well as buses. It covers motorcycles, bicycles, pedestrians, and it also touches base of a general car operator. So the 3 voices of safety are Keith, which is a bus driver, and he is amazing. If you go watch his stuff, you're going to see this man drive like I wish I could drive after 44 years. I mean, he can take a bus, and I don't care where it is, it's unreal. And then Ed is our personal car driver as well. Then you have more safety. You have 15-year-olds that are in student driving. It goes through the student driving and what can be taught to them about safety from trucks, buses, motorcycles, and pedestrians and bicycles. So it's a huge campaign. Once I did the read and they said, oh, we want you. And I'm like, really? I took my personal truck and I took it to DC and I spent a couple days up there. We actually filmed all day one day. And when people say there's no such thing as black SUVs, it's only on movies.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Because they were filming out of the back patch. I had 5 of them. And it was like we would go around the Beltway. And then they would take me in share ride lots, and I didn't fit. So it was. So, but anyway, we filmed all this and what it was for, and it's still out. It's still being produced. Even now, you're going to see it. You'll find it on PSAs on your local television channels, your public TV stations. You're going to find PSAs on your radio, XM. You're going to find billboards all over the country, and you're going to go, if that voice could talk, I would hear it, because it would probably sound like, because it's me. The literature is just amazing. Our Roads, Our Safety does a thing for children, and they start from 3-year-old up of doing an art competition, and it usually starts about January, February, March-ish. I can find out later, but you can look it up. And the more you look it up, the more you're going to see. But anyway, they go through and they give prizes, and then they do a year-long calendar, and it goes up to 12th grade. And some of this stuff that some of these 5 and 6-year-olds do it's crap. wow. I mean, the artist, but there's something for everybody. I don't care where you live, what you do. I don't care if you don't know nothing about logistics or transportation or truck, other than to stay out of the way to prevent keeping, something happen, but learning to keep your family safe, learning to keep you safe. Um, I can only drive so much for you while you're out there around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's as far as I can go with my side of trying to keep you safe. I can dodge you all day long, but whenever you're the ball coming at me in dodgeball and I have nowhere to go, it's a lot of times not a really good ending, and somebody's going to be out. So it it's a our roads our safeties are really, and it's free. Hello, I said free. So that means you can go and get any of this material. You can print it
Mm-hmm.
off. You can call them and ask them for toolkits that has all of it. Whether you're a driving school, say student drivers, you can
Mm-hmm.
start your kids out. And I've had teachers that have come to me already and said, if you don't quit, I'm going to scream. And I'm like, what? I didn't do anything. And they're like, yeah, my kids' mothers are telling me every time I stop at a stop sign beside a truck, Mama, don't get near that truck. He can't see you from there. And I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. And I find out it's because the safety they got advocated for safety. On the other side of, they were taught this whenever they watched
Mm-hmm.
our other safety.
So, what kind of reaction have you had? It's a good example of kind of a family uh, seeing some of the campaigns and internalizing it, and you getting that feedback. Have you gotten anything kind of from your peers in the trucking industry? How's their reaction been to that
Oh
campaign?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have people that are still posting, "Hey, I saw your billboard here," or I have one guy that he had a 12-year-old daughter that took a picture of herself with one of the advertisements. And when you see somebody post something and you're not even a friend of theirs or you're not anything, it's other than your name's in it and it pops up, and they're putting it out there of, look, somebody's actually showing and recognizing the safety around a truck. Because, guys, schools don't teach this. Driver education doesn't teach commercial motor vehicle and bus safety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've looked, there's not a block anywhere in getting your license as a new driver. It's not a license to remind you when you're 62 of me being complacent and not thinking about trucks at that time, which would be a
Mm-hmm.
good refresher, a good reminder when you have to take a written test again. None of that's out there. So when this stuff pops up, it's almost like a shell shock of, whoa, I'd forgotten that or I didn't know that. So the
Mm-hmm.
information's traveled. The thing is it hasn't traveled far enough. Um, I wish it would just blow up, and
Hmm.
hopefully one day it will.
What if there was one piece of the information that that you're, I would say, kind of advocating and preaching? If there's one piece of it, what's the piece that you would really want blown up?
Don't cut a truck. Not only can we not stop fast enough to keep from hitting you and running over you with a possibility of a gross weight of 80,000 pounds of iron and steel, but because we can't see you to maneuver away from you to prevent that, if you're close enough to cut us off, you're in our blind spot. Don't cut a truck off. Oh, you're thinking,
Okay.
aren't you? I see both of you. You're like,
Yeah,
now
we're
that
both
I'm
imagining
thinking,
scenarios that we.
We're both from engineers. So one of the so when you're developing autonomous vehicles, you take in a lot of kind of considerations of how do you build safety around the vehicle, and how do you react to that. And one of the key areas for autonomous vehicles is like, how far back should a truck follow traffic in front of it?
I can tell you exactly. Think about it. 55 mile an hour, 80,000 pounds. It takes 2 football fields to stop. If you can't see that vehicle in front of you, if it's a car or a pickup, not a semi, if you can't see that whole car and you can't see the mirrors on that car, you're too close. And it's just like a semi truck. If you can't see the driver and the mirrors, and I don't care how far back you are, with 20/20 vision, you can see a face in that mirror. If you can't see the whole mirror on both sides of that truck, you're too close. Now, you can count seconds and you can do that. But the thing is as long as you can see both mirrors in front of you, you've got time to stop.
And that's at 55 is 2 football fields, and most interstates are
70.
well above that at this point. So your distance is even further.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening to part 1. Normally Adam would do this, but he abandoned me, and part 2 will come out in a couple of weeks. Blah, 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 blah.
And this has been Trucking Forward with Tim and Adam. We appreciate you listening. Please subscribe to us where you listen to your podcast, or you can look for us on torc.ai. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.